Thank you. All right. Hi, this is Anna Imagination with the Healing Garden. Thank you so much for joining me. I finally got shit figured out. I mean, I got a lot figured out, but this one really hit me hard. So I'm sitting here talking to my daughter about education, and she was reading a cookbook, and she goes, all right, I've learned, I got information. And I went, yes, good job. And I'm like, she's like, you're so excited when I learn. And I'm like, learning should not be traumatic. Learning should not be upsetting. If you're upset or traumatic when you're learning, then there's a problem. Like, learning should be fun. And I feel like the educational system today is just, we're going to cram all of Wikipedia and the internet into your brain. And I'm like, it's a smorgasbord of just gorging you on information. And I'm like, and they're trying to teach you how to be an original. They're trying to teach you how to be an author. And I said, you know what is wrong with the educational system today? And this is it. It's a bunch of mimics trying to teach you how to be an original. Boom. That's it. It is a bunch of fucking mimics and parrots trying to teach you how to be an original. And I'm going, what the fuck? They don't know a goddamn thing about being an original. They're mimics. They're sitting there mimicking and repeating and parroting information while trying to teach you, all right, this is how you be an original. They don't fucking know. They're a bunch of mimics. You have to be an original in order to understand how to teach being an original. You have to be a fucking master if you want to teach being a master. And they've got a bunch of fucking mimics teaching. All they're going to do is teach how to be a mimic. So we got a bunch of fucking mimics. That's what's wrong with the world today. I feel better. I drink out of straws when I drink my milk because I'm 5. So yeah, I feel fucking fantastic about this. It is absolutely like, it's one of those things where it was itching my head for so long. And I'm like, I got this scratch. I can feel it. There's something wrong. And I was just so close to just articulating it. And that is it right there, is truly, it's a bunch of mimics trying to figure out how to be an original. And that has been our education system for fucking centuries. We've been doing this for centuries. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And I remember being in school in their mimic parroting classroom with them mimicking, parroting, and just assembly lining while they're lecturing me about, oh, you need to be an original. You need to be authentic. You need to create and do your own thing, but don't mind me. I'm going to be a parrot. And I'm like, do as I say, not as I do. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? And now it makes sense. It makes so much sense. And I'm like, all right. I say, I know how to be an original. I know how to be a fucking author. I know how to do this shit because I am an original. I know how to do this. And it's absolutely expansive thinking. So it's literally creativity. It's giving the tools versus, are we just going to feed you? It's spoon feeding. When you spoon feed, you're not nourishing the parts of your brain that you need to nourish in order to think outside of the box. And it's not about information. It's not at all about the information. I was just sitting down with my son on this today, and I said, let's go through this. We had a home problem with him trying to figure out how to solve a basic, well, I guess it wasn't basic, but it was problem solving. And he's like, he talked to me about it. He's like, so you're upset about the consequences? I said, no, I was upset that you're lacking what I thought you had for problem solving skills. And I'm like, I don't care about the consequences, but the consequences occurred because now I'm going, how's your problem solving? So let's sit down and go through it. So we sat down and we broke through it, and I walked him through the components of problem solving. And the very first thing you have to recognize is, are you aware that this is a new situation? Are you walking into it going, whoa, this is a new situation? Now, a lot of people have new situations and they don't realize there's no awareness. And this is what we're talking about. It's the mindfulness and it's the awareness. It is the obliviousness to what's going on. And we're all saying it. There's a lot of people going, oh my God, people are so mindless. And there's a lot of people who are becoming aware and they're going, wow, there's a spectrum. And I am fucking super self-aware. Like, that is my core. I am so self-aware. But how I did it and how you become self-aware is not something you just are. It's not like that at all. It's strategic. It's mathematical. You have to know precisely the exact components, and you have to know how to put the components together to get the exact equation, so you know how to solve for X. And I do. So a lot of people, well, I am mathematically minded, and there are a lot of people out there who are. And the more neurodivergent you are, the more mathematical minded you are. But our society doesn't function on math. And that's the problem, because it doesn't function on math. So there's something that I refer to as nature's way, the natural way. And nature's way is, this is the way it is. It's the constant, and it's the mathematic. So all of life revolves around a constant, and we're all fighting over what that constant is. And a very long time ago, a bunch of religious people won out, and they decided that they were going to execute a whole lot of people via the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition and a whole lot of other imperialization tactics, where they made the religion the constant. And anytime anyone came up with math or logic or science or physics, they'd kill them. You know, that happened a lot around the 1500s, 1600s. So there's been this defined God is constant. And now math is coming up going, yeah, I know it's that. Mother Nature is math. Mother Nature is math. Mother Nature. To be more precise, math is logic. So Mother Nature is logic. And there are laws that Mother Nature upholds. Like, this is one of that was fascinating. My son came in. We were talking about something tonight, and he was talking about how he wanted a freeze ray or a time ray where he could go back. Okay, so I'm going to translate this into math. He was talking about avoiding the consequences and being able to go back to the point of origin and resetting a particular event in the chain reaction so that the consequences would happen. And in my theoretical brain, I'm sitting here going, you mean bypass the consequences without suffering the consequences that led from your choice. You mean you want to be able to make a choice without having to suffer the consequences. You don't want the chain reaction to occur or the ripple effect to occur. Yeah, Mother Nature says no. Mother Nature will never break that law. That is like a law of Mother Nature. There is no such thing as time travel. There will never be anything such as time travel because Mother Nature says, no, not going to happen. That's why there's time paradox, because Mother Nature says no. You set off a catalyst with a point of origin, and it's going to lead to generations of consequences. That's the butterfly effect. And if you should fuck around with this, the only thing you can do is problem solve and figure it out, because that's the way Mother Nature is the only solution is, oh, I'm sorry, you threw that, you caused a ripple effect. Well, what are you going to do? Problem solve it. But we're not problem solving. Instead, we're going, no, let's cover it up. Let's hide. Let's do denial. No, you got to problem solve it. If you set off a catalyst way back in the 1088 CE, how the fuck are you going to correct for it? You can't go back in time. What are you going to do? Problem solve it. To problem solve it, you guys, you have to find the formula. You find the formula, you trace it back to the original point of origin, and you create something that I like to call a plugin. And you basically drop that plugin, and you make it fun, accessible, and easy. And you say, all right, people, I got a plugin. And you give the plugin to all the people, and they go, oh, and it fixes them. And they go, wow, and it waterfall effects. That's why we have waterfall effects. Is you basically have the option of, okay, ripple effect goes out, well, great, now you're fucked. No, you have waterfall effect. What you do is you use waterfall effect on your point of origin, and you're fine. You don't have to time travel if you use waterfall effect. So I'm sitting here just looking at this whole concept of now, okay, what makes an original versus a mimic? Well, what makes an original is your ability to not, there's a difference between, and this is it. This is something I have been doing all of my life since I was 15, is you get information in and you can take it all. And I remember, God, this is like my life. This is it. This whole topic is my life, is mimic versus master. And these are your options. You have to be a mimic or a master. And you get to choose. Do you want to be a fucking mimic? Do you want to be a master? And I remember sitting in my history class, Mrs. Penningroth. Just sit with that name for a minute. Her name was Mrs. Penningroth. And it sounded exactly like everything that name sounds. History. She was like 80 years old. She fucking hated children. And she loved to warn us and remind us of all the times when it was legal to beat children. She was that kind of a person. And chewing gum was not allowed. It's like this is Mrs. Her name was Mrs. Penningroth. I will never forget her. I had her for like 3 months, and then she retired. And I caught her at the tail end of her retirement, but a miserable human being. And I remember sitting in her history class, and she had these posters. And one of the posters, really, this is what I got from her class. This is all I walked away with from 6th grade history class. No, 7th grade history class. This is all I walked away with. But it changed my life. It was small minds talk about people. Average minds talk about events. Great minds talk about ideas. I want to be a great idea. I'm going to go over here with these people. And I chose I chose. That's all I read every day. I went into history and I read that poster, and that's all I did. That is all I got out of 7th grade history class. I remember there was a panoramic. I had to do like a sculpture thingy with Native Americans and early man. And I don't remember walking away from it at all. But I remember that poster, and that poster is what influenced me. Not 7th grade history. No, it was that poster. Now, more interesting is I'm sitting here going, 7th grade history class. I spent 9 months in that fucking room. 3 of those with Mrs. Penningroth. And I learned nothing except small minds talk about people. Average minds talk about events. And great minds talk about ideas. And I just made a choice. 7th grade, I was 12, 13 maybe. And I just went, I want to be a great mind. That's it. I want to be a great mind. Immediately, my life changed that day. It was extraordinary. Like this was a point of origin for me. This was a massive moment in my life that just completely changed everything. And I really want to put an emphasis on the fact that I didn't learn anything else that year. I don't remember anything else about the 7th grade. I remember that poster. Are you okay? She got up and she like hit herself in the leg, and I see it in the corner. I'm like, are you okay? All right. I can't ignore that. She's like, ah! So it was like this massive stone that was dropped in my honor pool, and I went, that's going to change me forever. And it did. It did. And then I started observing. I started thinking about that. God, I was thinking harder. Yeah, I was 13. This was a catalyst. This was a giant thing that dropped in my life. This poster changed me. Like it dropped into my life, and it shifted my entire life and comprehension. And please check the cat. And I'm going, oh, I know what he did. He knocked over the garbage. I have a cat that just I have a life around here, and it's happening. It unfolds as we speak. When I was 13 and I read this poster, it changed me. The first thing I noticed was I started observing. I observed. And I noticed that my mom gossiped. Oh my God, did she? And I'm going, small minds talk about people. And I observed and I looked for it. Do this exercise. Notice it. Become aware. The other thing that really, really influenced me was the bathroom picture. I'm never going to get over this bathroom picture. My parents had this giant, ugly picture that was hanging in the bathroom for years. The important thing is this, to be able at any moment to sacrifice what we are for what we could become. Charles Dubois. I had no idea what it meant for years. And it bothered me that I could not understand it for a long time. Mind you, as soon as I learned how to read, I was reading this thing in the bathroom. So they taught me how to read A, B, C, and I was 5, 4. And now I'm in the bathroom on my potty chair, and I am reading The Important Thing Is This, to be able at any moment to sacrifice what we are for what we could become. And it bothered me. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And I was 5. Oh, it bothered me. I just kept reading it over and over. What does that mean? And I remember working through it. We need to do this. We need to give this saying to 5-year-olds. This is true education. Just give it to a 5-year-old. Elizabeth, the important thing is this, to be able at any moment to sacrifice what you are for what you could become. And it starts with the important thing. So I'm going, oh, that's fucking important. I gotta know this because he said so. It was on the plaque on the wall in the bathroom. I had to know it, but I didn't understand it, and it was important. And this is the shit that plagued me when I was a kid. And I remember the day I finally understood it. I was 16, and it was right after I learned logic. Coincidence? I remember finally the day I had been reading that plaque for 16 years. Okay, maybe 10, because I was not. I had been reading this plaque. Mind you, it was a big fucking, it was like huge. It was like my mom had a taste, I'll tell you. Like it was different. It was this dark cherry 1970s brown. And it was a beach. But you didn't know it because it was so brown. It was brown because it was the 70s. And it was glassed over. And it was a sunrise or a sunset. Maybe it was a sunset on the sea. And in the middle of it was just these giant words. The important thing is this. To be able at any moment to sacrifice what you are for what you could become. And the only part of it that I could remember, that I could even understand ever was the important thing is this. That plagued me. Oh my God. I'm like, oh my God, it's important. And I gotta know. So I finally, when I was 16, it was right after I studied logic. And I Googled, no wait, Google didn't exist yet. 1996. How did I find Charles Dubois? I remember like the day I sat down and went, who the fuck is Charles Dubois? Because I'd been reading this plaque for 16 years. And I found out he's a philosopher. So, and I don't know why my parents had it. It was just, I think it was always pretty. I need to ask my mom, where'd you get that plaque in the bathroom? I need to do that. That's me texting my mom. Where'd you get that plaque in the bathroom? So I need to ask her, like, where'd you get this thing anyway? It was probably a wedding gift. Why do I have a memory of her going, it's a wedding gift? Oh, I think it was a wedding gift. That explains so much. Pretty sure it was a wedding gift. So between this wall in the bathroom and Charles Dubois' voice telling me this is important, and then this thing in the 7th grade going, small minds talk about people. Average minds talk about events. Great minds talk about ideas. And I went, all right, I'm going to talk about ideas because the important thing is this, to be able at any moment to sacrifice what we are for what we could become. Yes. And I'm sitting here going, why is it? This is important. Because the plaque says so. The important thing is this, to be able at any moment to sacrifice what we are for what we could become. So this is really what stands out. Why the fuck did this phrase from Charles Dubois and this poster in the 7th grade go on to influence me far more than any of my education? Let's think about this. I just spanned 16 years of education. 13 years of education. Because I was 13 when I read that poster in Mrs. Penningroth's history class, which apparently was not Mrs. Penningroth's because she did not take it with her when she left after those 3 months of retirement. And that plaque in the bathroom. And I'm just looking at this going, there was another plaque in the house. As for me and my family, we will serve the Lord. I thought, not me. And that was interesting because I'm like, why is this plaque speaking for me? I didn't consent to this. I remember arguing with the plaque. I hated that plaque. It's for me and my family in this house. We will serve. I'm like, don't speak for me. This plaque spoke for me. So the plaque pissed me off. But Charles Dubois, he got to me because he said the important thing is this. And I just remember being 5, freaking out because this was important. I love the way children's minds work. So I had to decode it because it was important. And those two things went on to shape my thinking more than anything I learned in school. I wanted to be a great mind who thought about ideas, and I wanted to understand this fucking plaque. And when I finally understood the plaque, it was saying to me to be able to sacrifice what you are for what you could become. And then I started to think, well, what could I become? Really think about it. What could you become? Can you sacrifice what you are now for something better? Could you do it? Could you be able to do it? And between those two things, that went on to influence me more in my education than anything else. And I'm going, what the fuck is going on with the educational system? That of everything I learned, those two pieces did more for me than anything else. The thing is, I remember reading all the posters in school. I remember when I was a kid, you remember we had those scholastic, oh, I love the smell of those. Yeah, I know, right? You can still smell them, can't you? So nostalgic. Little scholastic sheets. They're like the best thing about school. The money orders. And you would get those and you'd go home and you'd like, I want everything. And your parents were like, it's educational, we'll do it. So you were allowed to get stuff. And I remember I was one of those persons who chose a bunch of inspirational posters. And I have all of them still. They're in that bedroom. And it was extraordinary. It was a huge part of me that just absolutely inspired me with all the things that I collected as a child, going, yeah, I got to definitely pull these things around. And those posters, I actually don't remember any of them at all. Not like that one in Mrs. Pennygroth's room. But the posters in my history class, the posters in my English class, I don't remember anyone else. I don't remember any other poster. I just remember this one because I remember thinking, I want to be a great mind. I didn't want to be a small mind gossiping about people. I did not want to be average. I wanted to be great. And that really is the difference between a mimic and a master. I remember reading all of these books. I remember when they first gave me Lord of the Flies. I did not understand Lord of the Flies. It was before I had studied logic. Could not understand Lord of the Flies. They were talking about what's the allegorical meaning of Lord of the Flies. But God forbid they use the word allegory. This is one of the weirdest things about educational systems is we're going to teach you about allegory, but we're not going to use the word allegory while we do it. They do this. They do this. I went through 12 fucking years of school and I'm sitting here going, okay, we're doing this thing. And I figured out that we were doing a thing, but I'm like, what the fuck is this thing that you keep making us do? And they're like, well, and they walked us through the steps. Step 1, you got to do this. Step 2, you got to do step 3. And I'm going, yeah, but what is this thing? You're making us do something. What is this thing? It's allegory. I watched Lord of the Rings. I was one of those persons who watched the making of Lord of the Rings, all 12 discs. It took me a week. And on the very last disc of the very last movie, Pippin. No, wait, it wasn't Pippin. Yes, it was Pippin. Or was it Mary? It was Pippin. Pippin, Billy Boyd, makes the comment, there's going to be somebody who watches every single one of these making of these videos. And I went, yeah, me! He's talking about me! Yeah, he's talking about me! Because I was that person. In the very first disc from Fellowship of the Rings, there is this moment where Tolkien is seeing underneath his tree where he used to sit at Cambridge where he taught. And he reflects on allegory. And he's like, I hate allegory. And he went into this beautiful, elaborate speech that really did Tolkien justice. And I went, what the fuck is allegory? So I'm sitting here like Googling. Yes, there was Google then. I'm Googling allegory. And I went, that's allegory? That thing they made us do in school all the time was allegory. Find the allegorical meaning of The Lord of the Flies. Here is Fahrenheit 451. Authors speak in metaphor and allegory. Please tell us what's the allegorical meaning of Fahrenheit 451. But we're not going to use the word ever. What's the allegorical meaning? What's the allegorical meaning of Arthur C. Clarke? What's the allegorical meaning of Gulliver's Travels? That's what they're making you do. They want you to define the allegorical meaning behind shit. And I'm going, what the fuck is allegory? I didn't learn about it until like 2005 or 2007 when I was watching Lord of the Rings. And I'm going, that's allegory? How the fuck they thought they were going to teach allegory without using the word allegory? I just don't understand it. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Use the vocabulary you're trying to teach. Stupid. So, like I said, mimics, teaching people, this is how you be an author. You think you know how to be an author. You're a fucking parrot. And you're going to teach me how to be an original? This is how to be an original. Question everything. That's how you do it. Socratic method. If you want to be an original. Now, question everything. And I remember when I first found this information in philosophy, I was like, question everything? And all I could hear was that nagging child. Why? So we need to clarify this a little bit. Because when Socrates says question everything, he does not literally mean question everything. Actually, he does. But there's a right way to question everything and a wrong way. There's a mindful way. Mindfully question everything. What he really is trying to say is evaluate everything. That's how you do it. Evaluate everything, not question. That's an annoying child going, why? We don't want that. Evaluate everything. Don't do a fucking thing without thinking about it. I mean it. For instance, why did I choose a square glass? Oh, I have my reasons. Why a pink star? I love this pink. Why? Like there's so much. Why? What was the motivation behind it? What was the reasoning? What purpose does this have? It defines my identity because I'm 5. That's what it does. It re-solidifies who I am and it reminds me I'm 5. That's right. When you start really sitting back and evaluating every single thing you do with purpose, evaluating it. Is this right for me? Is this good for me? Does this give me joy? Why do we do this? Why are these people who are mimicking trying to teach us allegory without using the word allegory? Why do I have to figure out the meaning behind Lord of the Flies? I know why, because they want you to practice allegory. Why do they want you to practice allegory? Because they're trying to get you to think like an author and a master. And they're going about it all wrong because they are not authors or masters and they have no fucking idea how to do it. They are really good at being parrots because they have learned how to be a mimic and a parrot. Now, I want to show you something. They come from the same educational system that you do. They're really good parrots. And they came from the same educational system that you did, which means the educational system taught them how to be a parrot. Yeah. And I'm going, I didn't come from their educational system. That's why me. So I'm looking at it going, they're mimics. And the system is teaching you how to be a mimic. And it's just generating a bunch of mimics. And they're going through thinking, all right, this is how you be a master and an author. I feel like it's a bunch of droids giving people human lessons to a bunch of droids. And everyone's walking around a droid. And the droid is then going and going, we're going to give you human people lessons. And everyone is a droid now. It's third rock from the sun. I get it. Okay. But it was physics, so it was okay. He was a physicist. Physicists are different. Physicists have shit figured out. And it's you're watching it, and it's like you're a mimic, and your system has trained you to be a mimic, and now you're up there trying to tell us how to be masters and originals. And it's a good question. Let's step back and ask you, what do you want from your educational system? I'm asking this question as a parent. I'm not asking this for you. I'm asking as a parent, what do you want for your children? Because this is fucking big. Now, I was one of those persons because I'm a master, because I'm an original, because I was outside of the box. So I was already thinking because the bathroom poster and then the important thing is this, because I had those things. So I had the ability to sit apart from that and think, what do I want for my educational system? And I was asking these questions when I was 12, 13, 14, 15. What do I want for my educational system? And this is a big fucking question. But there's two sides to it. What do you want from your educational system? That's the question to ask for yourself. How much do you value education? Where do you want to go with it? What do you want done with it? Imagine if you had it to do all over again without all the bumps and bruises, and you could just sit back on a scale of 1 to 10. How good did your education teach you and prepare you for real life? Did you think it was good? Did you think it was adequate? Where would you rate it? Now, I know mine was shit. I had that figured out by the time I was 12. I will tell you how I figured out all this by the time I was 12. I grew up in a parochial school that felt that science was garbage. So it replaced science with a Bible. Yeah, science with a Bible. And not good Bible, like bad Bible shit. There was no history. The history was the Bible. Oh, I wish I was making this shit up, but I'm not. History and science were replaced with the Bible. So when my parents decided to switch me over to the public school in 1990, I was 10. I knew my education had no science or history. I was looking forward to school. I was going, yes, school, real education. And I got there and they gave me Greek mythology and Egyptian mythology. And I went, wow. I was so hooked. And then they took me off of that and they took me onto something else. And I wasn't done yet. So that's when I went home and got the encyclopedia sets. And I noticed how significantly gapped my education was. Science was a nightmare. I would go into the science class in the 6th grade and they wanted me to dissect a flower. And I fucking loved botany. That's the thing. I'm a gardener of 20 years. I was splicing my own roses and looking up all the Latin names and working on categories of the classes and the genus and all that jazz. That's where I am with my botany. But when I started, I could see how horribly gapped my science education was. Everybody else around me was doing great scientific things. They were not doing great scientific things, but they at least could follow the comprehension because they had the foundation, which I didn't have because I had the Bible. They had all of this history. And I'm going, I have no idea what you're talking about because I had the Bible. And I was significantly concerned because I'm going, wow, I can see where, I needed a point of origin and I didn't get the foundation over here. So now I could feel it. By the time I was 10, 11, and 12, I could feel the crippling from a weak foundation with my education. So I took matters into my own hand. A lot of people do not have that opportunity to have that drastic shift. So they don't realize until it's too late, until they're 20, 30, 40, going, oh, fucking shit, school didn't do anything. Now, by the time 10, 11, 12 happened, oh, I can see the chain reaction now. Because of A, this happened. Because B, okay, I understand it now. So what ended up happening was I supplemented my own education. And a lot of people didn't do that. So now I'm looking at it going, the other side of the question, what do you want out of your education, is coming to you as a parent. What do you want your children to learn? What do you want your children to walk away from? What do you, if you had to build your child's education? I've asked myself this question. I was 10 and 11 and 12, and I built my own curriculum. I fortunately found La Academia and Plato's curriculum. And I went, Plato seems to know what he's talking about. So I based 100% of my education off of Plato's La Academia, which also turned into Alexandria. And then because of Plato, you don't study Plato and not find Alexandria. I studied Alexandria and I studied their education because I was already concerned that, well, if I'm supplementing, I need to make sure I know my fucking shit. So at 10, 11, 12, 13, I was educating myself on education. So I knew my fucking shit. And by the time I was 18, I was like, American education is fucking garbage. And I took matters into my own hand. By the time I was 15, I was like, I'm fine. I got this. I'm studying Plato in addition to the garbage that they were teaching me in high school. So now my question is, here we are as parents. What do you want for your children? I'm sitting here working with my daughter, homeschooling her, and I'm going, what kind of an education system do I want her to have? Now, here's the luxury that we did not have. Information is vomiting on us all over the place. You want to know something? Oh my fucking God, is it so easy to get books? It is easy to get books. It is easy to get information. Wikipedia's got everything all set for you. I'm disgustedly jealous. It is so easy to find shit now. I was on the physics portal on Wikipedia. And I was just going through the physics portal going, yay, physics today. And I'm just like checking it down to make sure I got all these. And I'm sitting here like pulling up all the right books to pull. And I'm like, yeah. So I got my physics curriculum all set. Compliments of Wikipedia's physics portal, which I'm now working and corresponding with Khan Academy. Oh yeah, God, this was not this easy when I was 1995. Just got to say that. And then after this, I'm going to do chemistry. So getting information is fucking easy. But you know what's not easy? What's not readily available is the application and the how. That's not out there. That's not out there. When I finished my ontological studies, I noticed something and I was going, this is interesting. There's something else here. There's something else here. And I'm going, what the fuck is this? And it was like this massive, what the fuck is this? And I said to my daughter today, I was writing this article and I said, I want you to name all of the subjects in school. And she did. She's like, well, there's math, there's history, there's music, there's reading, writing, arithmetic, there's chemistry, biology, science. And I'm like, all right, and I wrote them all down. And in this article that I wrote this morning, I said, what if there's one more? What if there is one more that we didn't even realize was there and we missed it? So spoiler alert, there's one more and we missed it. And it's the glue that literally brings all of this together, holds it together, connects it all, and then shows you, by the way, this is life. So now parents and teachers are sitting here going, why aren't you teaching my kids shit? What are you doing? And parents are getting pissed. I'm one of them going, what the fuck are you doing? Why aren't... My son had a massive, went through school, huge problems with the school. They imprisoned him, locked him up, and put a guard on the door. Not kidding. Traumatized him. They called me, we've illegally imprisoned your son, and we're not sure how to calm him down. We have him locked up with a guard right now. What the fuck are you doing? Well, we wanted him to go do A, and he wouldn't. Was he going to hurt somebody? No. Was he going to hurt himself? No. So you illegally imprison him and put a guard on the door. So pulled my son out of school, and I'm huge on mental health first, education last, because fuck education, because it's all over the place and it's so fucking easy to get it now. And I'm like, we need to take care of your mental health. So took care of his mental health and he went back to school. And I watched them literally push him through the system like he was garbage. Just get him through the system and give him a GED and just graduate him. And I watched the quality of education they handed him and called good enough. And I'm going, are you fucking kidding me? You just assembly lined him to get him out of the system, to stamp him with a, that's good enough. And I'm watching my daughter going through a very similar process where she's in the school systems. And it's all about, well, she would come home hysterical, upset, traumatized over the bullying and the abuse. The other kids weren't bullying and abusing her. The teachers were. And I pulled her out of the system, and now she's being homeschooled. And I'm looking at all of this. And now I'm in charge of her education, and I'm building this full curriculum, and we're toggling it. And it's very much mental health with education, with learning. And I'm evaluating and I'm constantly assessing what are the components of education, what are the components of proper learning, what is the goal? Really, what is the purpose and the goal of education? Now, I don't want my daughter to be a mimic. Newsflash. Sorry, I don't want my children to be mimics. I want them to be able to think for themselves. I believe that's what every parent wants for their child. Every good, healthy parent wants their children to be able to think for themselves. And our school is not doing that because our school is generating a bunch of mimics. And I'm going, well, I can think for myself. How did I do it? I had this poster in the 7th grade that said, "Great minds think about ideas." And I had Charles Dubois in the bathroom since I was an infant going, "The important thing is this." Fucking Charles Dubois in the bathroom. The important, and it was such a serious. I had so much stress whenever I went to the bathroom. I had so much anxiety. It was such. This explains so much about my childhood now. Everything makes sense. You go to the bathroom, and there's the important thing is this: to be able at any moment to sacrifice what you are for what you could become. And I just remember, I just want to go to the bathroom. But I got to figure out what this means. I would take hours in the bathroom because I would just sit there and stare at it. What does it mean? And I can think for myself. And I'm going, how do I transfer? What did I do? What are the components of X that I can now take out of my brain and put them into my daughter and go think for yourself? And that's what our schools are trying to do and failing. But they're trying. Good. Do this allegorical meaning behind all of these great books, but we're not going to tell you what allegory means. So I'm looking at it going, well, they're trying, but they're mimics, so they're failing. You can't teach someone how to be a great thinker if you're not a great thinker. This is my purpose in life. Like, really, this is my purpose in life. Teaching how to be a visionary. And it's when you get to this point, when you're there, first of all, anyone can be here. It's a formula. You just need to do the mathematical formula and poof, you're there. It's like a Rubik's Cube. There's a mathematical formula. It's an algorithm for the Rubik's Cube. It's done. And I thought about everybody behind me. And I'm going, why didn't they do it? Well, they had different callings. And I get it. The obsession. Oh my God, the obsession is fucking hell. And we're not really told what our choices are. You get into school and you're just spoon-fed to the point of engorgement, all this information. It's like all the information on the internet needs to be in your head. And I'm like, okay, mimics. That is not education. That is an assault on the memory. That's why you forget it in the summer break. Because you've assaulted the memory. That's not what it's for. If it worked, I would have remembered a lot more from 7th grade other than that poster. There were 3 posters: grade one, small one, 7th. And I'm now sitting here trying to break down the components of visionary thinking, of great minds. What are the components of being an original, of having the ability to step aside into the third perspective, assume the role of observer and watch. And that is it right there. That is it right there. It is the silent observer. 7th perspective, of course. Of course, silent observer. It's always the silent observer. When you take on the role of silent observer, you become mindful. But it's more than just silent observation. It truly is curiosity. It's becoming curious about the purpose, about the technique, and about the reason. It's asking how, why? What are you doing? So when you step into the role of silent observer, it's mindful curiosity. But it's not something you can just do. The question is why? And here's it. This is it right here. If you want to be a small mind, gossip. Truly, gossip. Don't think. Don't be mindful. It's okay. It's not for everybody. If you want to be an average mind, read the events, watch the newspapers, follow the media, get into a bunch of heated arguments with coworkers about who should and shouldn't do what, where, when, and why. But if you want to be a great mind, if you want to think outside of the box, if you want to be a visionary, they say great minds talk about ideas, but really it starts with sitting back, being quiet, and observing, but doing so mindfully, not because no one else is asking you to come play, but doing it because you've chosen to do it, just chosen to sit back and watch. Become mindfully curious. Look for purpose. Look for technique. Notice. And noticing is really it. It's the noticing. It's the sitting back and just, do you note it? Are you taking notice? Look for anomalies. Look for common denominators. Look for pattern. What are you noticing in the entire room? Do you know where you're standing now? Welcome to the omniscient point of view. It is selectively choosing to sit in the silent seat of the omniscient point of view and having enough wisdom to keep your mouth shut because you're only new to the omniscient chair. And you watch and you look and you learn. See how people choose actions as if they're each casting stone, and watch how all the ripples just move and integrate into each other, and how each one of them sets each other off. Look for commonalities. Look for information. Think about how you would behave in the same situation, how you wouldn't behave. Notice, this is interesting, how many of the same thing people are saying is just the same thing over and over again. What's being repeated? That one's one of my favorites, is noticing what's being repeated. That to me is like, they're strangers. How are they knowing what to repeat? Where'd it come from? Where's the common denominator? How did this person over here and this person over here say the exact same thing and never meet? How is that possible? Where's it coming from? Why? Did they read the same article? What the fuck is going on? Track how much you've noticed is being passed around through mimicry. It is quite extraordinary to choose to sit in the back of the room and just observe with mindful curiosity and take notice. Wonder. 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 It's not question everything. It's silent observation. It's noticing. And it's wondering. Wonder. Yeah. Thank you. And may the kindest of words always find you.